So again, welcome to this session, the Residency Info Card info session. This is our online event for the selected host of this call for Residency Hosts 2025-2026. We are very happy to have a lot of you here today. And the aim of this session is to give you information about the second phase. So what is happening now that you are selected? First of all, of course, again, congratulations to everyone, as we said. We will see what is the Residency Info Card, explain a bit the eligibility for the residents. Residents are your invited artists and cultural professionals, the ones that you will find now. We will have the final grant calculation in the info cards, talk about any changes that you can do, some useful resources and information about the matchmaking sessions. And as I said at the end, I will stop the recording and we can move on to your questions. So now in this phase that your application was selected, you passed the evaluations, and again, congratulations, we received a lot of applications and we have about 150 residencies selected. I think we can share this info. Now it's the moment to find your residents and then complete the info cards with their details. We need this information to have the final residency grant calculation and be able to start your residencies and receive your contract. The Residency Info Card, all of you have already received the link for that with the selection email. Is already open, and the deadline to submit it is the 30th of September midnight. So you have until the end of September, and after that the link will be disabled. It's again like a second kind of application. So we are a bit strict with the deadline. This is the end. And you should submit it at least 4 weeks before your residency starts. This is what we say. Already we received some info cards from residencies starting now early June. So it is very important to give this space for us so we have the time to check your card, validate, prepare the grant agreement, send you the payment. So if your residency starts the 15th of November, do not submit your info card the 10th of November. That will be an issue. The info card is an online form, is a second part of your application. You can access it through the link we sent you. Only you, the selected host, actually have access to this second form. To complete it, you will need the final information about the residency, meaning the exact number of days, starting, ending dates. Maybe you have some changes, some adaptations now with after finding your residence, and you need to know each resident, their country, the travel arrangements, if they need any additional support, any top-ups. And then you will need to upload some documents similarly to the application that are in fact for the residents, so you are doing them for them. They are official national identification, a proof of residence, legal residence. So if you're inviting an artist living in France, you need to have a proof of their legal residence there. And everything is in the call. Again, I'm reminding you, these sessions are just a summary and a chat between us, but all information are in the call document. You need to upload a short CV for each artist, for each resident in English, their portfolio, and any supporting document in case you request the accessibility support. So in fact, ID, proof of residence in the language of the resident, of course, and then in English, the CV and the portfolio. So 4 things for each resident. And for the info cards, of course, as you may have understood, we are validating them in a rolling basis. So we are not, of course, going to wait the deadline to check them. If your residency starts in the summer, you submit, we check. So this is going to be an ongoing process, checking info cards, giving contracts, payments, and starting residencies. And again, as I said, you can check the call document, page 29, for more details on that. Now, who is eligible to join you? The residents, as we say in the previous call, we were calling them ANCPs. Maybe some of you remember, the artists and cultural professionals. They should legally reside in another Creative Europe country. So if you are a host based in Belgium, you cannot invite artists that live in Belgium. We are not talking about nationality, this is about legal residence, because this is a mobility project. They need to travel to reach you, regardless nationality, and they should be at least 18 years old with no upper age limit. They should be active in one of the eligible sectors, and this is regardless background, the level of experience, amateurs, professionals, emerging. As we said, this is very open, very flexible. We welcome all levels. Again, here maybe it's important to say that you can have a mix of residents. Maybe some of them are in performing arts, and then you also need a video maker, an architect, or depending your residency, this is very flexible to have a mixed group from different sectors and levels, etc. Very important is that they should all take part in the residency at the same time and for the same duration. This is a residency that happens in the same time for everyone. It's a collaboration project. Anyway, if it wasn't the case, you wouldn't be eligible, so you wouldn't be here. So yeah, this we know it's okay. Important also for your artists to know that they can be selected to participate as a resident only once in our calls. So if they are selected now to join your residency, they will not be able to be selected for another residency next year. Then how can you, the host, select your residents? This can either be through an open call that you will open, your organization, your NGO will open a call, or already you have an open call, already you have a list of selected candidates. This is really up to you. It can be a direct invitation to artists you already know, you worked before with, a nomination, or it can be a mix of both. So if I'm organizing a residency inviting 4 people, maybe one is through an open call, the rest are people I know, or it can also be through our matchmaking sessions that we will talk about that in the end of the presentation. Very, very important is that because this project, you are receiving a financial support from the European Union, the Creative Europe program, to invite these residents. You cannot charge them any fees for their participation for the things that are already covered. So for the travel, the accommodation, everything. Now, if you have anything extra, like a special workshop with a guest or something that is really out of the things that we are funding, this is between you and them. If you need to give any extra charges. But for anything, for all the services that we cover, staff costs, the mentor fees, things that we financially support, let's say, their accommodation, you cannot charge them. And I'm just stressing that because we did have a case that, yeah, there was a bit of a problem that hosts were charging the residents extra fees, and that was a bit of an issue. Now, the residency grant calculation, we saw that in the Q&As, in the application. I'm sure that you are all already aware of that. I'm just reminding you the amounts. To the host, to you, we have the hosting allowance, that it's a fixed amount. This is a lump sum. It means that it's regardless of real expenses. You receive €50 per person per day, per resident, not per person. And this is to cover firstly the accommodation, financially support, as we say, and then any equipment or mentor fees, etc. So you calculate here how many people you will have and for how many days. And you also receive accessibility support if you invite an artist with a disability. So in this case, I will explain later, also the host receives some support, and this is a difference from our previous call. This is a new rule for accessibility. And then each resident will receive the travel allowance, that is €400 per round trip. Again, fixed amounts. If their tickets are cheaper, they receive the rest of the money. A daily allowance of €30 per day, and this is to support any food expenses or transportation. As we said, accommodation should be covered already by you. And then any top-ups if applicable. Now, the top-ups, again, another reminder here, we have the green mobility top-up, €400. This is for residents that select to travel by a green mean. Trains, buses, ferries, a combination of any car, anything apart the airplane. They should receive this amount from you. The family top-up is €200 per child. If you invite residents that have children, they don't need to bring the children in the residency. This is just to support their expenses while cover a bit while they are away. We have the OCT-OR. This is for residents coming from the outermost regions, or if you are a residency based in one of these places. For example, if you are a residency in Azores, you can get this. Your residents can get this support. And the last top-up is the visa top-up, €120. All these are fixed amounts, and this is if your invited artist needs to issue a visa for traveling. All these top-ups are to cover needs of the residents, and they should be communicated to you by them, and you need to ask that and request that in the info card. So you will know who I'm inviting, what are their needs, because after the info card and when the grant agreement is signed, you cannot go back and say, in the end they will travel by train, we need that. You cannot add any top-ups after submitting your info card. So it's important to know beforehand. Now we talk about the accessibility support. This is given to the host and to the artist. And here we say that if you have an extra room available, if you can accommodate the assistant of the person, in this case, if your premises are accessible, and all that, we really encourage you to invite artists with a disability, with some accessibility needs. We try to support you in this decision, and you receive additional support. There are fixed amounts for both resident and host, depending the duration. Yeah, these are more explained in case you decide, and there is a discussion with our team to finalize the amount, but we give a fixed amount to the host between €375 and 1,200, and to the resident the same, depending the duration. And then on top of that, the resident, the invited artist, can also have financial support for a personal assistant, or for example a sign language interpreter, for professional services or non-professional support. So a person with a disability can join you with their assistant, with a person they need, and they also receive support in that. As I said, this is really a new scheme and rules for this new round of calls, and we really hope that this will encourage you and artists to join your residencies. And we believe this is very important for inclusion of artists. Then here the last rule is that the green travel, we do not allow airplane below 600 kilometers. This is for everyone, but in the case of inviting, of course, an artist with a disability, there can be an exception, and they could travel by plane if it's for shorter distances. Now, how can you request accessibility support? In the info card, we will need some supporting documents of the ID of the artist, a disability ID if they have, an official statement or a certificate or a medical certificate. And then if there is a need for a personal assistant, you should also upload a formal quote showing the total cost of service. So who is joining them, and what is the cost, what is, let's say, the offer, and a short consent form. And again, as I said, in case you will select someone with a disability, there is a discussion with our team. You can ask that again. Yeah, we hope it's not a very, very long process. It's just to have some documents about it. And again, everything must be requested in the info card, not afterwards. Now here we have an example of a residency. We have the NGO, let's say Dance Vivo in Romania. They are active in the performing arts sector. They will invite 2 residents for a 30-day residency. Actually, in fact, it's 3, sorry. We have Johan traveling by train from Croatia, and he's a father of a 15-year-old kid. We have Salma that takes a flight from Tunisia and needs a visa. And they will also have Vera that takes a bus from Moldova together with her non-professional sign language interpreter. The host will receive 4,875 euro, which is the hosting allowance, so 50 euro for 30 days for 3 residents, and the accessibility support 375 euro. This is a fixed amount, as I said, to use for any needs you might have. Maybe you need to change something in your premises to adapt the accessibility support. Yeah, it's up to you. And then the specific grant calculation for each artist. This is what you will see in the info card. For example, Johan will receive 1,900 euro from you, the travel allowance 400 euro, the daily allowance 30 euro for 30 days, the family toba because he has a 15-year-old boy, let's say, and the green mobility toba because he takes the train. Then you see Salma's grant is less because her needs are different. She only has the travel and the daily allowance and the visa top-up. And then we have Vera, that she will have the travel and daily allowance as the rest. She will have the visa top-up and the accessibility support, the fixed amount and the amount to cover the expenses of her assistant, of her non-professional assistant. So I hope you get an idea here of how the info card will look, different amounts for different people. And if you have this question, these amounts will be part of your grant and you will be responsible to pay your artist. But all this will also be explained in the next session that we will have the 2nd of June. So the total residency grant is in the end 12,390 euro that your organization will receive to keep an amount for you as a host and to allocate and pay each resident according to their needs. Now, all of you have been selected, you applied, you gave us an application, you already had a plan, how many days, how many people you will have, but we know that in this phase you may have some changes. So which changes are allowed in this stage between the application and the residency info card? The duration, it cannot be longer, so you cannot have more days. It can be shorter, but it should stay in the same category. So if you said, I'm doing a residency for 35 days, but in the end they're coming here 29 days, this is okay. But it should be in the same category. So you didn't apply for a 3-month residency, you are evaluated based on that, and now you will say, in the end we're doing that only for a month. That's a big difference, and it changes also the profile of your residency and the evaluation of it. And it should be the same duration for everyone, as we say. Now, of course, small changes might in the end, let's say, we know we are humans, maybe in the end a resident, they should leave 2 days earlier, 3 days earlier or something. If any of these small changes happen in the actual implementation of your residency, this will be recalculated in the balance payment. So for now we say, yes, they should be there in the same time, but again, we are humans, we know that something might come up, just these amounts will be deducted from your balance payment. Now the number of residents, in your application you said how many people are you intending to invite, from 1 to 5. In the info card you can have up to 1 less. So if you said I'm inviting 5 people, you can have up to 4, but not much less, because then again this brings a lot of changes in the budget. And it really changes your, let's say, your whole, the budget calculation. You can have up to 1 less and you cannot have more. Always in the more days, more residents, this is not possible. And then when it comes to human resources, maybe you have a replacement of a mentor, maybe the hosting coordinator is changing, you have a change in the staff, a legal representative, this is totally fine, you just inform us, you give us the new emails. For example, for the mentor, if you have a change, you need to mention that in the info card. I think you need to upload the CV of the new person. So to keep the information as in the application, I think this is all a bit logical. And very important is that the location and the accommodation cannot be changed. For the accommodation, we know, maybe that's, just to explain that, we know that of course you haven't booked things, but just explaining here that what maybe you shared some pictures, you shared some information, because that was part of the evaluation. We say that, yeah, it needs to be the same, the location, the spaces, like you cannot be presenting in the application, let's say, one space and premises and equipment and I don't know what, so you explain and then in the end it will be somewhere else, to something totally different. This is not possible, we don't allow that, because it was part of the evaluation. And we need to know that you will do what you said in your application. Now, important dates and some resources, and we are closing this presentation soon. The selection of residents, as we said, is already running, can already start from now. You can submit your info cards anytime between the 5th of May and the 30th September midnight, as I said, at least 4 weeks before your residency start, to give us some time. Our team will review cards ongoing and provide grant agreements. Then we signed the grant agreement, which is the contract between us and you. And as I said, all this information about the agreement, the payments, more information will be given to the info session of the 2nd of June. Now this session is really on the selection of residents. And you can start your projects between the 8th of June and the 7th, and they should be finalized, in fact, by the 7th of June 2027. In the info cards you can also change the dates, as we said. If in the application you said we are starting in September, but in the end the people I selected, they can do it from December, this is fine. The important is the duration. Moving and postponing a bit the dates, this is fine, just to inform us. Then some useful resources we know that you might need and that happened before, some help. Opening your calls, how this can happen, like what kind of logos should I use and all that. And we have some resources that maybe can help you. We have this link, I think my colleagues will share the link in the chat, how to prepare an open call. If you are new to this, if your organization is quite new and not experienced, you can have a look. As we say, from our team, we don't have any special requirements or evaluation criteria for your calls. This is really up to you, how you want to open your call, select your residents, do the evaluations. We are not involved in this process and in this decision. This is really your responsibility if you want to do it. And as we said, yeah, always you can tag us and you can join our matchmaking sessions to find artists. Now the matchmaking sessions, maybe some of you are already selected before and you know about it. These are online events that our team is organizing, and it's, let's say, a networking space and platform where hosts will present their residency and connect with artists and cultural professionals. So we invite you to join us. You will have a minute to pitch your project, say who you are, where are you based, what are you doing, and interested artists and cultural professionals, people that maybe are from the also individual mobility action through our social media, will join. Last time that was a very, very successful action. In every session I think we had about 300 maybe artists joining, and it's a good moment to network, to find maybe people, and even if you don't find people, to present your organization and make some new connections. And we invite you to register. We didn't have a lot of registrations so far, so we are wondering if we will need all 3 sessions, but we will come back to you. For now, these sessions are set for the 5th, 10th and 12th of June. So these are the matchmaking sessions if you are interested to join and find artists. If you know who is joining you and you will do your things, then disregard this information. These sessions will be online via Zoom from 10 to 12. And the registration deadline is today. In the chat we will share again the Typeform link. So if you want to join us and present your project, this is the day to decide and register. I think the registration form is very short. So we know how many people we have and organize ourselves. Now if you need more information, as always, you can check our channels, our website. You can contact your Creative Europe desk to ask questions in your language. Check the call document. All information, all rules are there, and our FAQs. a lot of links. Last reminder, next events, matchmaking sessions, as we talked, and the host info sessions are the 2nd of June and the 10th of September. We are going to give you the link to register for those. The 2nd of June and the 10th of September is the same session, it's just whenever you prefer to join us, depending of when your residency starts. And there we will talk about the grant agreement, the payment, the final report, communication, logos, everything you need to know about implementing and finalizing your residency.